Polystyrene insulation advantages and disadvantages. Advantage 1. Polyester is cheap. Polyester foam is by far the cheapest insulating material. Depending on the manufacturer, you can handle material costs of less than €20 per square meter, which of course also depends on the thickness of the material. And this is an argument that counts when a single-family home already has a 3-digit number of square meters of exterior wall. Advantage 2. Polystyrene is effective. Not only does polyester foam have very good insulation values. With an insulation layer of 14 cm you can meet the requirements of the energy-saving ordinance, which requires a heat transfer coefficient of 0.24 watts per meter and Kelvin for exterior walls. Polyester foam, which differs from other materials, does not lose its insulating effect even when wet. The material should not get wet, but who can rule it out for several years? Advantage 3. Polystyrene is easy to work with. Polystyrene is easy to work with. The panels can be cut with a hot wire without leaving any residue. However, for the person doing it, this means that they need to get the right device. Of course, you can also work with a saw, but then you produce a lot of waste in the form of small polystyrene balls. In any case, it is an advantage that you can cut the cutting of the plank pieces effortlessly and without much physical effort. Advantage 4. Polyester foam does not weigh much. The low weight has two advantages. First, the requirements for fixing to the facade are lower than in the case of heavier insulating material. Secondly, the light weight also makes it easier to transport and process the material, an advantage that should not be overlooked, especially for people who do personal things. Advantage 5. Polyester foam is durable. Polystyrene does not change without physical impact. It does not rot, which is of course important for the durability of the insulation. Disadvantage 1. Polystyrene burns well. Polystyrene meets the legal requirements for fire protection, otherwise it should not be installed at all. But you can easily try it and you can light a small piece of polyester foam in the yard. It ignites quickly and the flames spread quickly. The material melts on the facade, leaks in large areas catch fire quickly. Therefore, manufacturers treat the panels with flame retardants, but these are environmentally hazardous toxins. In larger buildings, it is mandatory to install non-combustible fire bars, for example made of mineral wool, in the insulation of the facade at certain intervals. This slows down the spread of the fire, but does not completely solve the problem. It also increases costs. And once the polyurethane burns, poisonous gases are released. Disadvantage 2. You can hardly get rid of polystyrene. Polyester foam is not recyclable. Above all, it is often firmly attached to the facade of the house by gluing. It is hardly possible to separate it at demolition. Rather, all materials become hazardous waste, and their disposal is costly. From an ecological point of view, it is of course questionable to produce such quantities of garbage. If manufacturers succeed in developing an economically viable method of material recycling, this would play a different role in the assessment. Disadvantage 3. There is a lot of gray energy in polystyrene. Polystyrene production is associated with high energy consumption. This releases a lot of harmful carbon dioxide, which is mainly responsible for the problem of climate change. Disadvantage 4. No polystyrene sound insulation. Sound insulation does not usually play a role in insulating exterior walls. Problematic external noise always reaches more through the windows in the house than through the wall. But polystyrene is inadequate because it has no soundproofing properties for insulating partitions between houses or rooms. Disadvantage 5. Styrofoam is not indestructible. Polystyrene does not rot, but it is not indestructible. Direct, strong, long-lasting sunlight can make the material brittle. In addition, polystyrene can shrink over time. This can lead to the creation of joints between the insulation panels, and this considerably reduces the insulation effect. In the worst case, moisture can enter the wall of the house. Disadvantage 6. Polystyrene is not permeable to diffusion. Polystyrene does not absorb water vapor and is also very tight at this time. Therefore, it has no moisture regulating effect, which is a clear shortcoming, especially when it comes to interior insulation, compared to insulation from renewable raw materials. For this reason, polystyrene insulation is not at issue in half-timbered buildings. Air humidity must be able to enter and exit freely on both sides. Failure to do so may result in severe damage to the construction material. Disadvantage 7, polystyrene is made from oil. Polystyrene is an insulating material made of petroleum. Those who want to protect raw materials should do without polystyrene, because oil reserves are not infinite. And there are some areas where crude oil can hardly be replaced. Building insulation is certainly not one of them. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked this informative video. If you did, don't forget to subscribe, and hit the like